Liubov Velychko is a Ukrainian investigative journalist with over 15 years of experience uncovering corruption, crime, and human rights violations. She specializes in exposing disinformation campaigns, as and conducted numerous investigations into Russian propaganda, revealing the networks behind its spread and dismantling the information operations orchestrated by Russian intelligence agencies. Today, I think, is a special topic, certainly for me, because the environment has been a huge passion since I was at university. And Liubov Velychko's core argument is that climate disinformation is no longer mostly crude denial around climate change, for instance, and the impact of fossil fuels. It is a strategic influence work designed to delay regulation, protect fossil fuel profits, and reshape government decision-making while appearing technical, scientific, local, patriotic, or pragmatic. This is perhaps one of the most pertinent topics of our age, because Russia has used these narratives, has used this fuel to power its war. And of course, as the war comes to conclusion, as it loses, we're going to see far more of this environmental disinformation rising to the fore. In her formulation, climate disinformation is not random misinformation. It is a strategic influence operation designed to delay climate action, undermine science, and shape policy choices. Her distinctive contribution to the field is to treat climate disinformation as an information operation problem rather only as a climate communication problem. And I am very much looking forward to this conversation. I think is one of the most important topics that we can be discussing at this time. Liubov, welcome to the channel. Or welcome back to the channel, because of course this is not the first time you have been on before.
Hello, Jonathan. I'm very glad that we can discuss it publicly. I hope that everyone will enjoy and learn something useful from our conversation.
I think that is guaranteed. Let's dive straight into the topic, though. And can we talk a little bit about the origins of climate science, disinformation, as opposed to just sort of misinformation and poor science? When did it become an informational background? And what are the early pathways of influence we see, especially from players like Russia?
In 2015, when the Paris Agreement was signed and big and huge oil and gas and coal corporations realized that they may and they will lose profits because everyone understood that climate crisis is not something which is far away, but something which comes very, very fast. So governments around the world needs to make a lot of actions to slow down the production of gas and oil. That is why those polluters decided to invest money into disinformation campaigns to make governments make their decisions slower. And that is why they decided to make campaigns to influence on politicians to turn them into the false decisions. That is why when we are talking about climate disinformation, we are not talking only about fakes, but we're talking about the wrong solutions that gas and oil and coal companies try to implement on the ground. And that is a huge problem, because in this sense, governments are spending billions and billions of dollars into the solutions which will not solve the problem of climate crisis, and it will not slow the global warming.
And that's a core part of your research. We're going to really break that down a bit, because I think this influence leading to bad science, leading to bad policy is at the heart of it. I have to ask the question, though, did these influence operations ever stop, even as Russia shifted to operating through the grey fleet, operating in some ways, below the surface of the global markets and global regulation?
After the full-scale invasion, Russia not only didn't stop investing money into disinformation campaigns, but it started to make it even more intensively, because the half of the state budget Russia gets from fossil fuels, gas and oil companies. And of course, they understood that if they will be sanctioned, which happened basically. So they needed to have a plan B to take money to the state budget from another types of energy. That is why one of the biggest and most successful informational operation which was made by Russia since full-scale invasion is not connected with oil and gas, but it's connected with another type of energy, which is nuclear energy. and the Russian government information operations was made to make the nuclear energy in the wild world make decision policy field, the decision as a green decision. And this informational operation is very successful because just during few years, Russia made the world's biggest governments and the biggest international banks, and as the Bank of Reconstruction and Development, to start thinking so that nuclear energy is a green energy. And the first time since 1950s, international huge banks as World Bank decided to invest and to give credits into building of nuclear plants around the world. And that means that the biggest corporation which builds nuclear plants, which is Rosatom, in the very near future will earn billions and billions and tens and hundreds of billions of dollars just because it will receive new projects to build around the world. And of course, building a nuclear plants somewhere in foreign country makes the Russian government have instrument to influence on the government on the country where this plant is built. Because first of all, when Rosatom builds a nuclear plants, it means that during decades there are experts working there, and the nuclear plants will receive fuel from Russia according to the standard contracts which they make with the government. And this is a very useful thing to have in the pocket of the government of Russia, because it's an influence on the government. And when on the 1 year ago, on the biggest environmental conference in the world, COP, there was a huge decision made on international level that the amount of nuclear plants needs to rise in the few times bigger during last 30 years. Russia was the first one who won on that moment. And unfortunately, governments around the world didn't realize yet what really happened, because this informational operation was not very clearly understood as a Russian informational operation. It seems from the side that it just public's decision which came somewhere from not above, but from the field of experts around the world, which is not true if we will look at it from the point of the analysis of all actions which were made during these few last years.
And of course, we're going to do hopefully a separate episode on this, because I've been trying to find experts to talk about Rosatom and why it has been not sanctioned at all and very rarely talked about in media and government circles. But we're going to dive into that in a separate episode. But just a little question to back up what you said there. It's not just about the construction, is it? Because actually you have, the wages of thousands of experts who would then be embedded within these countries. You have the supply of fuel. You have a creation of a real dependency. You have the maintenance of these facilities. Are you saying that this gives huge political leverage for Russia over countries that are buying its nuclear technology?
Yes, exactly. Because if the government already invests tens of milliards of dollars, tens of billions of dollars into building the nuclear station, of course, it wants the station work in a stable way. So if it will not work in a stable way, it may cause the environmental problems in the country, and no one wants this scenario to become true. So to make this plant work in a stable way, it means they need to have the fuel, and they need to have experts working on that station. And this all things which comes from Russia. It means if you want to work in a stable way, you need to have the nice dialogue with Russia, and you cannot fight, and you cannot. Russia has already the instrument to influence on the plant which exists in your state and which may cause the environmental problems in your state for your people.
And of course, we'll dive into that in a separate episode, but it also potentially gives leverage over foreign policy decisions and other matters as well. Let's dive into your research because I found your conclusions, your analysis absolutely fascinating because you suggest that climate disinformation is not random. It may often appear to be random, but often it's part of a strategic influence operation and it has certain outcomes. For instance, delaying climate action, undermining science, shaping policy choices. But I find this absolutely fascinating that there is so much strategic intent behind it. So could you describe a little bit how it works and what you've identified as being the mechanisms of these strategic influence operations?
To organize informational operations, polluters use a huge network of different kinds of organizations and experts. And of course, they use media and social media for the spreading this information around. And some of these organizations, they are paid because polluters organize different funds, like environmentally friendly funds, and they fund, for example, scientific institutions or scientists, separate scientists, and they try to influence on these organizations in general, because if the organization receives money and funding from Rosatom for Gazprom or from ExxonMobil, it even don't necessarily needs to publish something on the topic of climate crisis or the influence of oil and gas on the environment. They may publish different types of researches on any topic they want. But the fact that this company, this organization, this institute received money is already a kind of pressure on them not to touch the topic which is connected with the topic of environment and climate crisis. And also, these types of polluters, they take part in different associations, professional associations, which organized conferences like big events and invite government decision makers on these conferences, where together they try to find nice solutions to beat the problem of climate crisis. And on these panels already offline, they this is the best place for them to build their network, to bring their ideas, and to try to impress government decision makers with their brilliant ideas there. And unfortunately, right now, the compliance on these types of conference is on a very poor level, which means even on the COP conference, when somebody who is on the first view is not connected with the polluters, but is from the scientific organization, copy paste the messages on the big panels on the COP and complements the interests of the polluters. And unfortunately, on this conference, nobody mentions that this organization, this person, received funding from the polluters. There is no mark on this person. So it seems from the perspective of, for example, politician or government decision maker, that this is not the idea of the polluter, but the idea of independent institution or a very well-known scientist. And it plays a very big trick with these politicians. And right now, there is not the biggest problem like what infrastructure, because the main goal of the polluters is to influence not on the random people in the social media, but their biggest goal is to influence on the governments on the international level. And it means they need to be involved in the very high level events like conferences, for example, and roundtables, and they need to publish their ideas in the very specific sources of information, as for example, when we are talking about the nuclear energy, they publish their stories on the very specific websites which are about the nuclear energy, or they publish their reports with the collaboration on the big researcher companies, or they publish their ideas from the mouth of people who are working in the environmental sphere for decades, and they Their goal is not to make those posts viral. They don't want to make the huge discussions about this topic, because where we have the natural discussion, there may be many arguments against the ideas which they try to implement online, or not only offline. That is why when I'm investigating such types of informational operations, I see that their main goal is to show the ideas from the perspective that when we read this idea, it means that this is not a random bot posted it, but the person who you really know. And it seems that this person is the one who decided to do so, because why not? And no politicians, no diplomats make investigations by their own to understand who is lobbying interests of polluters. So it looks very naturally and not obvious that this is basically the part of the big scheme of the polluters out there.
And this is fascinating because, of course, before I was really, immersing myself in your materials, I still had an idea that the majority of the activity was social media, trying to spend climate denial, for instance, influencing the public, which actually is an expensive process and a long-term process. But what you're saying is something far more interesting, that actually they're seeking to change the political agenda before the public actually gets involved, to create a kind of fait accompli or inevitability by reaching influencers, decision makers, academics first, rather than starting with the public. Is that the sort of core of your argument?
There is a difference there are some different types of disinformation. One of the type of disinformation I just told you, it's about the false solution. And this is a scheme how to create the false reality for the government decision makers. And when we are talking about social media, huge campaigns and the activist role, we are talking about damaging the reputation of clean energy, for example. The very good example of that is so-called Trump's crazy whales. Maybe you remember a few years ago, Donald Trump told from the huge scene during the elections that whales in the ocean are dying because the offshore wind plants, that and he said that the whales become crazy because of these wind plants. And this was the result of the informational operation, which started from the action of the activists who were very well known in the USA. Climate Action is the name of the organization. This organization is more than 30 years old. It's not something new. And this organization started to make the informational campaigns saying that they don't like that whales are dying on the coast during last months, and they have the concern that the whales are dying because of the wind offshore plants in the ocean. They didn't have any evidences, but they told about the public that they're afraid that it might be so. And then the media campaign started and it became viral in the social medias, and the senators who received money from polluters, they also were saying about it very loudly. Of course, again, they didn't have any evidences, but they were so active that it became a very viral topic. And unfortunately, this campaign became successful because when Donald Trump won these offshore wind plants, the project was banned and stopped in result. And for the it's very interesting to see that the same campaign with the whales started in the UK just a few months before it started in the US. But there was a huge difference how the US government reacted on this campaign and the UK government reacted. So the UK government immediately told that this idea that whales are dying because the wind plants is a false idea. It's not true. So stop spreading this disinformation. And you know what? and it stopped. It was stopped. But the US government was much slower. So they took 3 months before commenting this story. They told on the beginning that they need to make a research to be sure to say whether or not wind plants are influencing on the sea life. And during these 3 months, the huge campaign was developing and developing, and in result, it became so huge that even though the government said that it is not true, there was too late. And the decision already was made by the politicians and by the society itself.
So that seems like there are a lot of tools, actually, and a lot of outcomes that the those who are spreading this disinformation can achieve. On the one hand, they can create a plausible environment of scientific work where bad decisions are made on either poor or heavily influenced science. On the other hand, when those participating know the science is false, it can also give them narratives they can use, sound bites they can use in order to still get these decisions through regulatory media processes and so on. It feels like there are a lot of different paths and ways in which the disinformation sources can actually lead this. They may not even necessarily know where it's going, but they can take it in certain directions depending on the responses. It's almost as if trying to catch smoke. It seems like quite a difficult process, in fact.
Yes, and while my investigation was made in 8 different countries on all continents, I mentioned that not only politicians who receive money from polluters are spreading disinformation, but also a mainstream medias are making this. And I was very surprised when I was analyzing top 10 medias in every country and was trying to see did they publish different types of climate disinformation since 2015. And in all 8 countries, usually 5 or more medias from the list of top 10 were involved in these disinformation campaigns. And among them, there were like the medias everybody knows, like BBC, for example. But we need to be very accurate when we are mentioning this media, because sometimes this media was spreading disinformation, I believe, not because they were believing that this is true, but they were trying like to find the balance and to show different points of view on the same problem. But they were not sometimes mentioning that the narrative which goes from the polluters and which is totally not true, that that this is not true, you see. And when you are reading the article on BBC, for example, and you see like 2 different points of view, you as a reader not always can understand who among these two has the right idea. When we are not saying the context of the topic as journalists, it plays a very bad game with us. That is why even the mainstream media are involved into this process. And on this level, of course, we as journalists need to understand that we need to think twice before giving the voice to the people who are spreading disinformation. And even if we are talking to them, we need always to explain to the audience the context of what we are talking about right now.
We could probably do a whole episode on how broken the BBC editorial framework is. Unfortunately, this idea of both sides, especially in an issue where you have complex scientific details such as this, it seems that that media framework breaks down entirely. But that is a topic for another conversation. I want to dig in here and actually create some commonality, because this is the first major episode of what I hope will be several on the environmental topic, which is central actually to Russia's economy, which is powering its war machine. But some of the processes and techniques you've identified here, which is in using expert voices, using NGOs and institutions to kind of sort of greenwash things that are not green at all. there seems to be some connection here or some similarity with other processes we see in foreign policy spheres. Again, where you have academics and writers, and you have certain institutional, let's say, protections for them, and they're peddling Russian narratives, sometimes partially, sometimes very, very overtly. Do you see that there are some similarities between this process or this mechanism in the environmental space and Russian propaganda in the foreign policy space as well?
Yes, of course. In both cases, we are talking about the influence and the financial impact for those who organizes this type of informational operations. And of course, environment right now also became the part of the huge international policy. And unfortunately, before the full-scale invasion and after, on the international level, people who make decisions about climate change policies, they don't realize that the energy topic may be used as a tool for influence on other governments. And that is why Russia was not sanctioned on the huge international conferences like COP, and still has the very loud voice there. And one of the things which Russia tries to make on these types of conferences is, again, to find the new partners around the world to make projects together. For example, Russia works very actively with the African countries and with the Latin America, and I don't see other countries to work there in so efficient way as Russia does.
So there's something that really jumped out in your research, and actually, it's a question that's often asked, especially when I sound particularly paranoid when I talk about Russian influence operations on a geopolitical level. And I always try to figure out, well, what's the outcome? Who benefits from that? And then try to work back, because things that look like coincidence often turn out not to be so once you figure out who benefits. And that may not be immediately apparent. But this is mentioned several times in your articles and research, that you also have this methodology of asking that question: who benefits from this misinformation, disinformation, and manipulation? How did you come to that conclusion? How important is this idea of tracing back from outcomes, achieved outcomes and benefits, back through to identifying the actual information operation itself?
I see the narrative spreading very widely. I tried to see who first started to use this wording and to share these ideas. And usually, after proper investigation, I can see that in the official programs and the official documents and official plans of the polluters, they openly write what their goals are. And usually what is published in general is according to the plan which was made before. And I was very surprised that it is really so easy to find the first source of these types of disinformation campaigns, because first I thought that maybe they are using a super secret channels to share these ideas, to build this network, but they are so self-confident that they even don't hide their reports with the companies, with the list of companies who they finance for lobbying some ideas which are useful for their business. And for example, ExxonMobil has a list of hundreds of companies which received billions of dollars during the annual financial year. And when I see what these companies from the list are generally doing, they are copy-pasting the ideas, they are taking part in the expert discussions, they are giving comments to the medias, and of course they publish these ideas on their official websites of institutes, for example, in the social medias everywhere. And according to my calculations, the amount of money, even if it is just a few billions of dollars a year, is so tiny comparing to the profit the same company gets every year. So it's very profitable to invest money into disinformation campaigns because even slowing down the process of the climate change action, they still can receive hundreds of billions of dollars every single year. And within few years even of slowing down this process means that they can gets hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions more. That is why, of course, they are very interested into implementing false solutions, as for example, carbon capture technology, because it seems like a green idea, but as we see on the practical, from practical cases, it is not efficient at all comparing with the wind and solar energy projects. But as we already see, many tens of countries around the world already agreed that carbon capture is the technology which is worth to invest money. But this is a false solution, and it was made by polluters. But no one tells about this openly, unfortunately.
This is very fascinating because something else that comes out of your research is that the alternatives, which are that the polluters invest in genuine innovation, genuine alternatives to their fossil fuel sources, that actually would come at a huge cost. So actually what this disinformation is doing is almost creating the sort of facade of innovation, the hint of innovation without actually delivering it. And of course, the implication that they're bringing about transformational change through these alternatives when actually it's just a kind of, I use this phrase a lot, Potemkin facade. It's just a simple sort of, whitewashing or billboarding around the actual problem.
Yes, and the biggest problem is that these solutions not only are not working, but polluters try to make taxpayers to pay their money to build these carbon capture factories. And this is ridiculous because these factories needs to be the one which are built by the polluters who causes the problem of the climate crisis. But polluters are trying to say that, oh, it's too expensive for us, and this is your interest to live in the cleaner world. So governments, please give the money of from the state budget to fix the damage we are doing. And the governments around the world already reacting on this idea, making the special laws to lower the taxes and to help to invest money into these factories on the very good from the business point of view. So polluters try to make governments around the world to invest money into the factories which need to fix the problem of the climate crisis, which was caused by the polluters. And this is the biggest paradox I found. And unfortunately, this scheme is ongoing and it's successful. And already in many countries around the world, the laws were changed in a way to help polluters to not only invest money of their own money, but to make governments pay for the damage of the oil and gas companies.
Well, one of the challenges we have in the foreign policy field is actually tracing outcomes or presuming certain outcomes and then working backwards. I want to ask you about your research here because and I will do two questions rather than lumping it all into one crazy complicated question. How in your research do you actually trace these things? We'll come to policy outcomes in a minute, but first of all, how do you track these narratives through various actors such as intermediaries, research networks, conference circuits, trade associations, NGOs, media amplification? This is a lot of different places to launder narratives. How do you trace these narratives through all of these vectors?
Of course, I use content analysis as one of the main tools, and this tool is very simple and it works, because these campaigns, they are difficult to recognize if you don't structure this wording, these ideas, and you don't make the timeline, and you don't see who said what after whom and what did it cause. But if you structure uh, and you see who exactly spreading this information, and then you check who is this organization and did it receive any funding or is it connected with the polluters, you can find a lot of connections in this point. And that is how you can prove that this person or this organization is spreading the narrative of the company just because this company paid to this organization. And when you compare the wording of this person and the narrative of this person with the narrative from the even official websites of the polluters, you see that these narratives are identical. And you can see that first, this narrative came from the polluter, and next, this expert or this organization copy-pasted this narrative. And that is, you can find out that so many coincidences are impossible to be just coincidence. When it happens in hundreds different companies like NGOs, expert organizations, and when you see that these narratives were spread very, very fast and intensively on many platforms in the same time, you can then understand that this is all a connected action, and just putting it into the framework and drawing the scheme with approval connections by the finances or people who are working together or made projects together, you see that this is a huge network. This was a campaign. This was not a coincidence. And you can see the beginning and you can see the result. And the result usually is the law or the decision made by government in the interests of the polluters.
We'll come to that in a second because I think that that's the big question is how you then trace these campaigns through to policy outcomes. But I want to pick up on what you mentioned there. So again, this feeds into something that I feel is an element of paranoia that I've been labeled with in looking at the sort of foreign policy trace of Russian campaigns. That is that actually for certain media organizations and for certain business models and for those who are risk averse or do not want to be litigated against, it's much easier to say, oh, well, this was just a bit of bad policy. This was a bit of bad science. And to actually dismiss the coordinated campaign element of these. They may even know that that's going on, but it takes so much work. It actually takes so much courage. It takes corporate risk taking. It's easier for many media organizations to say, do you know what? We'll just sort of skip this and label it as something that it's not.
During 3 years, I'm working on the topic of the climate disinformation, and the first year was the year when I was working only with the topic of climate disinformation and the influence of polluters via disinformation on the government's decision. So it took me a year because it's really not the easiest topic to understand the methodology of these types of informational operations. And I understand that there are very, very few medias around the world which can spend a lot of money and time for a journalist to spend a year only on one topic. That is why I try to share my methodology with my colleagues around the world. I take part in international conferences for investigative journalists. And so I try to save them this first year of my struggles and to give them the step-by-step methodology how to do these investigations and to prove that there are coordination between polluters and other actors involved in this climate disinformation campaigns.
That's very important. That generosity, that learning and transition of information to colleagues and professionals is extraordinary. Well, let's also trace the end point of this because we've talked a little bit about the vectors for this disinformation. Let's turn to the policy outcomes. How do you trace the influence of these campaigns, these narrative campaigns, in the consequences of real policy, enacted policy?
Usually the real policy goes very slow, and it takes like years and years to make the decision to be approved by the government or international society level. But as these coordinated informational campaigns are made very heavily and involving very, very big amount of actors in different levels, and they are copy pasting the same narrative, and they are not fighting and arguing with each other. There is no live discussion where there are many opinions, and politicians try to find some average or something in the middle to compromise the voices, as they usually do in the natural policy-making process. Here, we can see the difference that this narrative is the same. And for politicians, it means that it is much faster and safer for them for this decision, because it seems that experts and scientists and medias everywhere are saying one and the same, and everyone agrees with this decision. So there is no political risk to say no to this decision. That is why when these informational operations are made, the decision comes much faster rather than in the natural political process.
What I find fascinating in your work is this idea that the target is not always to change belief, but the target is to delay. Could you break that down a little bit? Because we have touched upon this, but this seems to be absolutely central.
Yes, there are many different types of campaigns which try to distract the attention of the public from the real problem. And for example, when we are talking about distraction, the public's opinion on something, we can see in the public space huge amount of information with the idea that the responsibility on the climate crisis is not, first of all, on the polluters, is not, first of all, on oil and gas and coal companies, but on the average people whose fault is that they use a plastic bag, or whose fault is that they use a plane to go from one place to another. Because when planes flies, of course, there are emissions because of that. But the truth is that the main cause of the climate crisis are the polluters, and but not the customers. But around the world, you can see that there are so big a responsibility of the personal responsibility about and the reason why the climate crisis seems to be you as a person, not the polluter. And it makes us feel guilty to use a plastic bag. And it makes us to be focused on this issue, not to use a plastic bag, but it makes us not to think why the really temperature rises so fast. And it doesn't mean that we need to use the plastic bags, but it means that we need to pay much more attention, and we need to not to be lazy to take part as a society in the process of the decision maker, the making of the environmental policies. And but of course, it's much easier not just to use the plastic bag rather than go and read the drafts of laws about the environment, or to make the investigations, or to find the connections between the polluters' ideas and the politicians' comments afterwards. So people go with the easier way, and it's very impactful for the polluters, because people don't pay attention to the much bigger problem which we have. And that is why also try to raise this attention among my colleagues around the world, because they were so focused on the topic of plastic bags that they totally forgot to make proper investigations about the informational campaigns organized by polluters, which causes the wrong decisions on the government's level and international level. And in result, we have what we have. Already according to the scientific research, the global warming comes much even faster than it seems to be in 2015 when the Paris Agreement was signed. It means that we as a society, as journalists and activists, needs to speak much louder than we do, because the amount of army of people who are pro-paid by the polluters is so huge and so proactive. It means that if we will not be so active as they are, we will lose this war for our planet.
And it seems that people are very distracted by simple performative solutions such as recycling, which actually doesn't result in systemic change. And as you say, it doesn't really get to the polluters at all. Well, we're nearing the end. I just wanted to make sure we covered off some of the core ideas and summarized those. So you've identified a framework that includes three main types of climate disinformation. Could you sort of describe those briefly? That obviously false solutions, shifting responsibility to consumers, and damaging the reputation of clean energy sources. Could you break these three down and why they're absolutely central to the work that you've been doing?
The strategy of the polluters is to make three steps. First of all, you need to forget who is responsible for the climate crisis. You need to think that this is your guilt, that we have a climate crisis right now. Then they make you not believe that the clean energy will help to make our planet cleaner. And in result, they propose you to pay for the decisions which will not help our planet. And they make you pay for it, your own money from your own pocket. Isn't it a brilliant scheme, Jonathan?
It is, and at the same time, it's distinctly anti-democratic. This is something that comes through so clearly because a lot of your work is, I would say, very logical and clinical and very evidence-based. But there's also a passion that comes through, and this is the idea that all this manipulation is subverting the democratic process, subverting the democratic will. That actually it is outrageous, I think, is the energy that comes through from your work, and that you can see the mechanisms how it plays out. But ultimately, it's stealing the political agency, the political will. It's making people pay far more for their energy than they have to, which is profiting some people. I mean, let's end on that. Do you feel that passion? Is that what really sort of drives here through your work? Have I identified that correctly?
So the idea of the polluters is basically to corrupt decision makers, to influence on decision makers, to make them vote not for the interests of all citizens, but for the interests of the polluters. And to make them do this, they organize informational operations. And sometimes they pay them, as the US example shows. When I analyzed 100 senators' reports about the funding for lobby they had during last year since 2015, the Paris Agreement year, I saw that 70 people from 100 received money from ExxonMobil, from like many oil and gas companies. And as we know, to make the decision in the Senate, it's enough to have 51 voice. So they even made it 70, which is much more than they really need. And the biggest amount of money went to Republicans. And as I saw, Democrats received like more than like 3 times less. But it seems that they received this money not to lobby, but just to keep silent. Because in the informational operations, almost always, only voices of Republicans are very loud. Democrats say nothing or saying something very neutral. So basically, it means for me that they received money just to keep silent and to do no action.
Well, we know that evil multiplies when it is met with silence, when it is met with indifference. And it seems to me the work you're doing is so incredibly important, possibly one of the most important topics that a journalist can focus on. So thank you so much for coming on. Once again, I look forward to the next topic, which will be on Rosatom. But Lyubov, thank you so much for your work, for your passion behind that work, your dedication to the truth, and of course, as I said, to democracy that underlines it all. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for inviting. And if you will have any more questions, please write it in the comment section. I will try to answer them and to have the very good discussion with you.
Let's unpack the book, The Dark Heart of Russia, because it helps to explain how we got to this point. It's edited by me, Jonathan Fink, the creator and host of the Silicon Curtain podcast. It's published this month by Gibson Square in London and is already available for order and delivery online, though officially the PR release will coincide with the Phantom Victory Day parade in Moscow on May the 9th. 30 interviews, 30 voices selected from over 1,000 interviews that have been conducted on this channel. And the lineup that we have put into this book reads like a who's who of the people Moscow would most like to silence. Bill Browder, Garry Kasparov, Fiona Hill, General David Petraeus, Peter Pomerantsev, Luke Harding, Mark Galeotti, Keir Giles, Anders Puck-Nielsen, Alexander Etkind, Yuri Felshtinsky, General Ben Hodges, and many, many more. And with a strong set of Ukrainian voices included, it could be no other way. Volodymyr Ermolenko, Alena Holoshka, Sasha Dozhik, Olga Takaryuk, and Alexander Romantsova, among several others. And the timing is not accidental. We are releasing this book precisely as the Kremlin's central myth, the myth of Russian victory, Russian strength, Russian inevitability, is being shredded in real time. Ukraine matters, and I think this book matters, and our support for Ukraine is the only way of stopping Russian imperialism from its eternal outward expansion and the destruction that it brings in its wake.